this is Tom Medlock, and this is the very last video for Centipede, episode 1. So, I just wanted to say really quickly before we go over this, it's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot, not even just from this class, but also from Optimized. So, the code is going to seem a little bit messy because there's a lot of techniques that I wanted to employ going forward, but just didn't have the time to do it. But I tested out and tried to make them work anyways. The whole project kind of felt like, building a bridge as you were traveling over the bridge in regards to, not really planning ahead. But in the end, I feel as if I, accomplished what I set out to do. I'm pretty happy with what I have. So without further ado, this is Centipede. You can see my high scores right here. Those are actually the high scores that I had scored while testing the game. You can see that the attractor mode will restart if he crashes into any of the creeps. Kind of runs by himself, and it has no sound. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna show you the very beginning. I'm gonna mute myself so you can hear the sounds and that the sounds work properly. So yeah, I went ahead and muted it. So to mute it, just hit M. M for mute. Just hit M on the keyboard, and it'll mute. And you can unmute it too if you want to. This is my blaster. The blaster can't go lower than here. It obviously doesn't go off screen, and it doesn't go higher than the player area. That's kind of what I have for right now. And let's go ahead and look at the code. So for the blaster, I have a factory that creates a blaster, when it creates it, it initializes it, and it says, is this a player or is this like the attractor? Is it true or is it false? And if it's true, it creates a player controller, and if it's false, it creates an attractor controller, and it sets the life value, which is what to decrement the life, how much to decrement each time you die. So for when it's the attractor, obviously you shouldn't take away anything. So the player controller has all of the key presses, and when you press the button, it goes ahead and it calls a blaster, and it tells the blaster to do the action that it's supposed to do corresponding to that key press. So for shoot, it checks to see if it is shooting. If it's not shooting, it sets it to true. And then it goes ahead and it creates a bullet and plays the blaster fire. So first I'm going to show you the sound manager and how the sound manager works. The sound manager is a singleton. It has the constructor that's private, has the function that returns the instance if there is no instance, and has a pointer instance. The static functions that are public interface with the private functions. And when you go ahead and play the blaster fire, it just says, hey, play the blaster fire. But I have a strategy pattern. So when it's not muted, it plays sound on. When it is muted, it plays sound off. So if we go into sound on, you can see that it actually plays the sounds when it's being told to play. But if you go into sound off, you can see that there's nothing there. It's just bogus. And these are children of the sound interface class, which is just it's like a nothing class. So that's how the sound manager works for each of the different sounds when it's on or off. So going back to the blaster, where were we? We were at the ship. When it creates a bullet, it calls the bullet factory and it says, "Hey, bullet factory, make me a bullet." So you go into here and it goes ahead and it says, "Do we have a bullet? If not, create a new one." When it dies, this is the most important part. When it dies, it has a listener, so it keeps track of the player by linking to him. And when he dies, he's like, "Hey, player, your bullet's dead, so now you can shoot again." And then it goes ahead and it recycles that bullet onto the stack. The bullet factory cleans up after itself, and it deletes the pointer instance and sets it to null pointer when the factory terminates. I just want to show you that this is also a singleton, and that it has the this important statement up top in the .cpp file. So that's how that works. Next up is the mushroom. The mushroom class it's a pretty big staple of this game. So I have a mushroom factory, same thing as the bullet factory. It's a singleton. It creates and recycles the mushrooms, and also has the termination and the cleanup when it's deleted. It pushes, onto the stack. Checks to see if there's a new one, and all that fun stuff. Basically, what we have here is, it puts its position at the cell width, cell height, yada yada. It does the math for where it's supposed to go. It stores the column in the row for future use, sets the life to 0, resets all the values basically. And when it gets poisoned, it goes ahead and sets poisonous to true, sets the animation to life plus 4 because that's the offset to get that nice little poison-looking mushroom. And when it collides with a bullet, it goes ahead and checks to see if the life is equal to max life, and if it is, then it destroys it because it goes up instead of down. So it starts at 0 and it goes to 3, and it goes ahead and adds the score of the mushroom. So the scores are all stored in the score system class, and when it calls add mushroom to the score, it just goes ahead and it adds the mushroom value to the current player who's playing's score. So that way, you don't really have this all over the place. It's in one single area. So if we want to change any of these values, it can just come in here and change it in the score system. Otherwise, it goes ahead and it increases it by 1, and it checks the poison. If it is poison, then it does it life plus 4. Otherwise, it sets the animation to life. That way, you have that poison thing going on. There's booleans to check if it's poison and all that fun stuff. How the mushrooms regenerate is through the mushroom field. The mushroom field will, there's a function called repair mushrooms. And when a player dies, it pauses the wave. The wave manager pauses the wave. It causes the mushroom field to repair the mushrooms that are destroyed. And it does that by it's a little bit like a recursive function. It iterates through a nested iteration, and then it checks to see if there's a mushroom there, and it checks to see if it's damaged. So this is a Boolean. So if the life is greater than 0, then it is damaged. If not, it's healthy. And then it'll go ahead, it'll restore that. So what it does is it sets the life to 0, sets the animation to life, and updates the sprite. So on top of that, it'll also bookmark where it left off, and then it'll go ahead and add the mushroom regen for the score, and it'll play the sound for mushroom regeneration. Then it'll set the alarm 0 to 0.2 seconds, and that will call this again where it left off, and it'll cycle through everything until it gets to the end when it kills all of the critters that are on screen, and then it resets the player, decrementing the value of life that it should decrement for that player. So that's how that works, and I think this is going to be it for this video. Tune in next time and see what we talk about next time. Thank you.